In early 2022, IBM acquired a company called Envizi. Envizi provides comprehensive sustainability reporting and ESG disclosure capabilities. Two things that Maximo and Tririga do not have. They have a lot of data to support those functions, but they don't do the detailed analysis and reporting, and IBM has now filled that gap. So let's review Envizi. Envizi supports Scope 1 and Scope 2, the direct and indirect emissions reporting, and also can report on Scope 3 emissions associated with the value chain. It allows you to set targets and track your progress towards achieving the targets. But Envizi goes above greenhouse gas reporting. It addresses the broader ESG frameworks, including standardized frameworks, as well as the ability to create custom reporting frameworks that allow you to pull desired pieces from other frameworks into your own and then add your own questions to it and make it truly a customized reporting mechanism. Envizi supports tracking building ratings like LEED and others, and benchmarking systems such as Energy Star. It also tracks other components of ESG disclosure topics like health and well-being, education, diversity, governance, risk management, and many others. Disclosures are often complex, require discussion prior to release, and often require additional documentation to be attached as well. Envizi accommodates these requirements and is fully auditable. Disclosure questions can be assigned to individuals and the progress through the system tracked. An additional feature is the ability to create and manage sustainability programs and report on the progress and results of those programs. The key to reporting and the disclosures is having all the data you need and having good data quality. The product has the ability to connect in many ways to receive data. It can also report on data quality and identify any gaps so you make sure everything's as accurate as it can possibly be. So now let's go into the product itself and have a brief overview. This is the initial screen when you log in. You can see across the top, the functionality is organized into groups. I need to manage information. So I have different things around my organization. I have locations and groups of locations. I have accounts. Accounts are sources of data. I have meters that are associated with accounts. I have tags, I have surveys, I have data integrity, the health checks, and I can establish my targets. Under Verify, I have data management analytics, and I have financial management piece. Under Monitor, I have performance analytics. I have benchmarking information, specific callouts for solar, alerts for meters, and issues that I'm tracking. Then I want to optimize. So I have my building energy performance, equipment fault detection, and programs. And then I have reporting. To the right, I have a searchability. It defaults to locations, but there's different types of records that I can search through. The next line tells me what level of my organization I'm in. At this point, I'm at the highest level. I'm looking across my entire organization, but I can drill down through the organization hierarchy. We can see who is logged in and the last time they logged in. We also have the ability to customize my portal view. The Quick Links section lets me drill down into functionality. I have Power Reports. Power BI is supported by Envizi. I have a Sustainability Reporting Manager option. That's a bit of a misnomer because it's not just about sustainability. It has ESG disclosure reporting inside of it as well. I have locations and groups. So locations are individual locations and groups are groups of locations. Accounts are my sources of data. I have meters that are typically associated with accounts. I have interval meter alerts. So this tracks anything that I should know that seems wrong with a meter. I have building energy performance and analytics, equipment fault detection tracking, I have issue tracking, and I have emissions performance analytics. And then finally, I have a history of my frequently visited places. To demonstrate the entire product would take several hours for such a deep dive. So we're just going to do some highlights across functionality in order to give you an idea of what it looks like. Let's start by looking at organizations. You can see the different components in my organization. And for instance, I could go to Government Region 1. I have New York. Within New York, I have 2 different facilities. I can drill into the facility. I can see different information there, like the different accounts associated with that facility. And the thing that's important here is I can drill down and literally go in and limit the data that I see based on what I select. Let's look at an example of analytics in the system. So we're going to select emissions performance. You can see we're still looking at the whole organization. The drop-downs contain some of the options for how I display data. Right now I'm doing a comparison with my previous period. I can look at tons or kilograms, square feet, units sold, etc., all the different options that are available. I also have filters. So right now it's all inclusive for all of my groups, but I could go into regions, measures, even individual locations and turn them on or off. So I can build through the filtering literally the data set I want to view. And then I have actions. I can email a copy of this dashboard. I can actually schedule this dashboard to take a snapshot. Or I can just save a view once I've picked all my different options, just to make things quicker. I also look at and can change the reporting period I'm dealing with. So I'm looking at 1 year, September 2021 to August 2022. Let's look at an example of analytics in the system. So we're going to select emissions performance. You can see we're still looking at the whole organization. The drop-downs contain some of the options for how I display data. Right now I'm doing a comparison with my previous period. I can look at tons or kilograms, square feet, units sold, etc., all the different options that are available. I also have filters. So right now it's all inclusive for all of my groups, but I could go into regions, measures, even individual locations and turn them on or off. So I can build through the filtering literally the data set I want to view. And then I have actions. I can email a copy of this dashboard. I can actually schedule this dashboard to take a snapshot. Or I can just save a view once I've picked all my different options, just to make things quicker. I also look at and can change the reporting period I'm dealing with. So I'm looking at 1 year, September 2021 to August 2022. Another example is, let's look at our data health check. So now it's looking within the reporting period at all the data I have per location and by my capture period. And I can see green, yellow, and a hint of red. And this is what I referred to about real data that we have, actuals, and then an accrued versus no data. So some accounts have been told to report no data if it doesn't find data. Some of the other accounts have said, go back and look at the history and come up with an accrual calculation. Different views. This is by materiality, and then individual locations are in there as well. An example in Verify would be our cost analysis. Again, you see at the top, I have different options for the comparison. How do I want to view it? And how do I want to report cost? This allows me to do an apples to apples comparison. Periods, I have my filters again, just like other ones that we viewed. my cost variance, consumption variances, and effective unit cost variance. Many different ways to look at the data. If I look at an example under monitor, let's look at our overall emissions performance. Let's do that by data type. Reporting period, different filters, again at the top, different ways to view the data. Here's our activities by data type, activity by period and data type, activity by category, many ways to slice and dice the data. Under Optimize, I have options around performance or my programs. So these are my sustainability programs that I have running from different types of initiatives. You can see from the summary I have manage and track. So I can drill into more detail. These are my different programs. I have actions that need to be taken. I can look at results. Many different ways to drill in. If you go to reports, you can see there's different ways to limit the list. Let's go ahead and select all reports. There are 187 reports in the system. There are over 40,000 emissions factors, and you can of course create your own if you have things like power purchasing agreements. I have different emissions reports listed, so let's do one that is emissions by location. I have different options to filter. And this is a non-Power BI report. There are 604 rows that make up, actually pages that make up this particular report. We'll limit our scope this time to just Power BI reports. You can see there are 35. Let's do our ESG performance overview. We're on the cover page. You can see all the different pieces that make this performance overview. All these are components of this report. And I can get to all of them from within this one report, this top level report. If we want to look at real estate assets, for example, it's going to explain what we do. This is all built into the report. Another example. Here's our Scope 3 emission summary. Again, all the different components that make up the Scope 3 emissions summary are here, and you can drill into them. At the end of the day, the reporting manager brings a lot of things together for ESG disclosures. In this case, you can see I have a framework library. These are some of the standard frameworks that are out there for use already. As new ones come on board, they're brought into the system, or if there are changes to these frameworks, the system is updated typically about once a year, which is typical cycle for these kinds of updates on the frameworks. You can also create your own custom framework, and they can have custom questions, or they can take questions that exist in the frameworks that are already in the system. I can add a disclosure to this list, or in this case, I'm going to drill into one that's already in progress, my CSR. So in this case, you can see the different topics. Under the topics, the individual questions, and then who's been assigned to make sure that the questions are answered, who the reviewer is, and what its status is. I can look at these individual questions. Now, the individual question has all the detailed requirements. On the right, you can see again information about where it stands. If there are questions that are referred, if this question is referred to in other reporting disclosure frameworks, so they're related. Here's all the details documenting it. Invisi has put guidance in on some of these topics based on their background knowledge and expertise. You can do links, you can do attachments, and you can have comments. And the comments also are kept in history, so you'll see a complete history of any comment on an individual question. So you're providing completeness, you're providing any attachments or documentation required, and you have an auditable history of who has made comments or changes to this particular disclosure report. So Invisi completes our circle. It allows us to take data from a Maximo, a Tririga, or any other source and bring together for our ESG reporting.